:30 p.m. I'd like to call to order the Tuesday, April 4th, 2023 monthly meeting of the Tilton Northfield Fire and EMS Board of Fire Commissioners. Present are all three commissioners, the chief, the deputy chief, and the other deputy chief, Mike, Catherine Tolline, and we to the public. We have one of our biggest audiences ever outside of
I'm slightly offended by that statement. I'm kidding.
Is that woke?
You know what? That's like plurals. I don't pronouns, I don't follow.
and a enthusiastic audience. First order of business is to elect a chair. I would nominate Paul Oger to serve as chair for the next 12 months.
And do I get to second that?
Sure.
Yes.
Second, you okay with
Be
that?
afraid to speak up.
All right.
There you go, Paul.
Motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
You are now the
Thank you.
chair.
Okay, I guess next thing is correspondence. What's skipping along?
We received 2 emails. The first one was rescheduling the court hearing to March 21st, and the second one was rescheduling the court hearing to April 25th.
This is the same place it was
Same,
last time?
yes, it's at the Belknap County Superior Court, Courtroom 1.
What day is it on?
It's a Tuesday,
Tuesday.
April 25th is a Tuesday,
I
9 a.m.
I will be there.
Okay.
Is it something you can watch online, do you know?
I don't know. Chief?
If, I'll get that information.
I know somewhere, but I don't know with COVID if it's...
I don't know at this point. I have to wait until I get the more information from the attorney. But I'll send him an email asking. Usually when it's online, you don't get to participate, you just get to watch.
Any other questions? Anybody else got anything to say about it?
No, I was gonna try to attend.
Okay, the second one is report of the committee, the building committee.
So I'll speak up first, and everyone else is welcome, absolutely, to chime in. The Board of Commissioners last year commissioned us, the building committee, to submit a request for proposal qualifications. And back in November, we had the first meeting of potential design build contractors. And during the subsequent 4 months or so, 5 months, 6 months, we corresponded with them, met with them. We had interviews a week or so ago, and we determined from the beginning that we were going to use a scorecard. And this, Lisa is the prime mover on this whole process. She's got a tremendous amount of experience in this, so she gave us a lot of guidance. And basically the criteria were design build philosophy and approach, prior design build experience, fire station function understanding, construction staff qualifications, architect qualifications, schedule and budget management, municipal references, the initial fee, the design build fee, and personal interview. And you could say we conducted those interviews a week or so ago, a couple weeks ago, and of the 2 design build companies, we had a score of, for Fulcrum, of 80, and Lorero it was 83. So it's our recommendation based on the criteria that we decided to score them on, that Lorero would be our choice for a design build construction company. Now, there was a tremendous amount of discussion with respect to the people that would be involved. not just the architect and the construction, but also community outreach. And one of the companies actually had a firefighter EMS on staff, and she would be the project manager. So there were a lot of things that we looked at along the way, and with the request for proposal always in the background, that was the structure of what we were trying to fulfill. And I think the commissioners already have that RFP. But so that's what we arrived at after about a year now of work. So with that being said, I'll pass the baton. Anyone else on the committee that would like to speak, or
Did you want to first make the recommendation we had?
I think I just did, but I gave a score. So it would be our recommendation. Okay. Yeah,
I didn't know if we wanted to make a formal recommendation.
yes. So I guess the committee's formal recommendation based upon the scorecard is Lorero.
Are they local?
They're,
Oh, I say local, where are they? I've never heard of them.
Their offices are out of Portsmouth, correct?
they're in New Hampshire, yeah.
Yeah.
Both companies were New Hampshire. One was Londonderry, one was Portsmouth.
I'm sure a lot of these companies like that there, they hire a lot of them subs. They hire subs, I believe. Don't they do it? They have their own, they don't have their own staff. They have subs that they come in.
Well, the subcontract.
Subcontractors,
Yeah,
they
so
come in,
like
the electrical and all the other stuff.
Exactly, yes,
Yeah.
without question. And this-
What about hiring local people as subs?
That's a great point, Paul, and that's something that we actually asked the design-build companies, if we could have some say in the contractors that they used, and we absolutely can. Now, we can't just say, you know, my cousin Joe is an electrical contractor, he's gonna work with you guys. No, but if there are local contractors that are qualified and meet the requirements of the design-build company, then absolutely, they're welcome. Absolutely.
In fact, that was one of the things with Lorero. They stated that they've done that a lot in the past. They've worked with local boys. And like they said, we can suggest them. I mean, they have to vet the companies, but it's their stamp on the project.
Mhm.
We're hiring them, so I mean, of course, they have to vet them. But they're more than happy to work with, if they say, hey, you know, the town has, or the district has had good luck with, you know, contractors A, B, and C, then we're more than happy to look at them.
I think it'd be a great idea to do that, as many as we could anyhow. I mean, it just shows that we care.
Mhm.
And also, both companies, you know, welcomed input along the way from us, from the community, from the fire department, from you gentlemen. So it's not like either of them were going to be doing this in a vacuum. So it's kind of a collaborative process.
The other thing, did they, something like this here, I know you haven't had any, well, at least I don't think you have. Did they give you a timeline, how long it would take or anything like that?
Well, we presented them with a timeline, actually, that you know, we want to have a proposal. So I guess the next step for them is going to be a space needs study, and following that path, what we need to really decide, and I think you gentlemen need to decide this soon, is whether we're going with straight Park Street, or whether we're going with Sanborn Road, or if we're going with both, because we need to give this company, the one that you guys choose, we need to give them guidance as far as what they have for real estate to work with. Now, we had quite a discussion last night pertaining to that, and I'll speak for myself. I don't feel we should entertain any design work or space study needs based on Sanborn Road until we have a firm contract where we have ownership. Because if we tell them, look, you know, there's a possibility we're gonna get that land, but we want you to do all this work, and then we don't get the land, it's nonsense. You know, we're back to where we were 12 years ago, okay? If we're gonna ask them to work with the Sanborn Road site, I think we need to enter a contract with the town in order to verify that we will have ownership. By we, the district, will have ownership of that property. So I think it's incumbent upon you gentlemen, if you're going to ask the company to look at Sanborn Road, I think it's incumbent upon you to make sure that there's a possibility, or not a possibility, that ownership has to be transferred in whatever way. Even if it's a contract, it's contingent upon the bond approval. Something, I mean, I'm not gonna dictate what this contract should be, but I think it's nonsense to proceed with Sanborn Road unless we have ownership of that.
Yeah, the other thing, Paul, is, as you know, we've already done 2 sites. We've spent a fair amount of money on the Tilton School property, and the other one is up on Mansville Road. And we have spent money up there. I mean, I'm at the point where, you know, we gotta do one or the other, or that's it. I mean, we can't just throw money out the window, people's money out the window. It's my money too, and I'd like to look out for the best of it anyhow.
Exactly, and I think that's the end that we discussed last night, whereas, you know, if we have property, that's what we should be focused on. We should not be focused on you know, a fantasy that's not contractual. For that exact reason, so that we're not wasting additional money. You know, if we're serious about Sanborn Road, let's get serious. Let's get it under contract for ownership, and then we can work with it. And also Park Street, or, you know, whatever they come up with.
And I think we did meet with the selectmen in in Tilton. And to me, it sounded like they were just kind of, it weren't definite, they weren't sure one way or the other what they were going to do. They talked about one thing, but then
Did anybody actually ask a question like, can we? Are we going to? You know what I mean? Are we still under like the the committee suggestion on this, or are you guys going to break to us a separate public comment, or are we rolling this all into public comment? Because some of the stuff that I want to say, I want to separate myself from the committee for that, because I have some personal stuff that is not on behalf of the committee that I'd like to speak to this.
I would speak whatever you
Okay, well,
want to
thank
say.
you. No, because on this, because we're talking about it, as a Tilton resident, having served on a previous building committee, okay, I was, I looked at some of the past board of commissioners post me, but in the past of this commission here, personally, I feel like it was short-sighted to simply look at Park Street. I mean, if we're gonna like go to a single one station, I don't know how we ever. I mean, we're talking about emergency medical services and emergency fire services, and then when we look at call data, we look at responses, and then let's not forget about. I mean, we got 62% of our calls on this side of the Winooski River, okay, and then we also have. Let's look at the formula for the tax rate. All right, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Tilton taxpayers pay the bulk of, or not, maybe not the bulk, but we pay a higher percentage of the district's funding. So when you look at that, and then when you look at emergency medical services, I mean, I drove down there the other day. I drove from the Park Street station. I drove the speed limit, well, not the speed limit, 35 miles an hour. I drove 35 miles an hour up Summer Street and came to the other bridge, the bridge down here. Actually across the street here. Come to the stop sign. It's 0.8 of a mile. You go from Park Street Station to the lights over by the Legion. Okay, that's 0.8 of a mile as well. That was 1.5 minutes at 35 miles an hour. The other one was 2 minutes. Okay, granted, the fire trucks and the ambulance is gonna be able to go a little bit faster, and they're not gonna be screaming up there, 60, 70 miles an hour, I know that. It's just not gonna happen.
Better not be.
And barring traffic, but my point with all this is, you're going to add, I mean, so the Park Street Station is pretty much at the limit of the 1 mile radius, is it not? 0.8 of a mile, so you're looking at it at the almost the limit of the radius of where the call data, the village call data. Now, you're gonna add anywhere from a minute, at the very least, a minute to possibly 3 minutes to response times to get across exit 20. I think it's short-sighted to look solely at the Park Street location, and I think we definitely need to pursue, a more firm. I plan on, as just Dennis Manning, taxpayer resident of Tilton, I will be at the Thursday night selectmen's meeting for Tilton, and I'm going to ask, when I have public comments, I'm going to ask questions, and I'm going to ask them to do something, because I'm concerned as a Tilton resident that we're gonna, our EMS services, fire EMS is gonna be compromised if this goes through. I'm all for this, I'm all for getting a new fire station. I don't think, I'd like to think I'm one of the bigger proponents of getting a new building. And, and I'm looking forward to this. I'm happy about this because the benefit to this deal here with hiring these guys, not so much the build, but actually getting an unbiased space needs. Because honestly, we've been trying to determine spaces, and it's always gotten lost in arguments about, I think this, I feel that. It's all anecdotal evidence that's been presented in the past, what we need or what we don't need. We come up with a simple square footage and then we argue about it. But now if we have engineers that are actually going to do a space needs study, I mean, these people, they're not from Tilton, they're not from Northfield, they're not from even Belknap or Merrimack County. So I'm pretty confident we're gonna get an unbiased, realistic space needs according to what we have for assets currently on ground. And I hope that we can take that and look into another location. The whole process probably should have been divided up, figure space needs, figure out the size of the station, and then start looking for properties before we start doing the whole build concept. That's my opinion.
Go ahead.
Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought we had a verbal or
Yes, the Tilton Select Board, and we had a meeting, the commissioners had a meeting on it, that the Select Board from Tilton offered the fire district a deal on the land. The deal was a 50-year lease on the property with the fire district exchanging the Center Street land for the Sanborn land, and the fire district removing the building at Center Street, is basically what the deal was. And the commissioners received that at a meeting, verbally from me through Jeannie Forrester. And I think that meeting was on 11/20.
Do you mind if I poll the board and see what their opinion is with respect to what the chief just offered?
Well, I'm happy to give an opinion because I'm on a committee, and we've been going at this for more than a year. It's been several years now. And going back to when I was asked to be on the committee, the charge from the commissioners was that we were going to look into a facility at Park Street. And that was the charge. And then during the process, we had that whole, what about Sanborn Road? Also during this last number of years, we've had a lot of comment about, just as Dennis says, we're moving farther away from a lot of the calls, and what kind of public support are we going to get? Because, as my good friend Kevin Waldron always says, we need to present a project that taxpayers will say yes to, whatever it is. And we have not been successful in the past, so we have to come up with a viable project that is affordable and that will get support. But then when you start talking with or hearing from people in Tilton who say, well, if you're going to build a single station, put it over in Northfield, they're not in favor of that. So I guess my feeling would be, based on how we've gotten to this point, is that maybe we do need to get a more firm commitment from the town of Tilton about Sanborn Road and include it in the contract that we create with the contractor to consider both locations. Now, whether the rest of the board agrees with that or chooses to go that route, I don't know.
I've gotten feedback, from residents of both towns, and, the river is the divide. People, residents of Tilton tell me that they won't support something unless there's a station in Tilton, and residents of Northfield tell me they won't support a station unless it's in Northfield. So it's a catch-22, and as you just said, we have to, we have to find something that the taxpayers will pay for. And what that, solution is, the good thing is that the land for either one is already owned by the district, and we spent additional money last year to buy additional square footage. But whenever I drive by it, I look at it, and maybe it's just because I can't visualize, how big the station is gonna have to be if it's one station there, and do we actually have enough room? That's my, because I have not able to picture something there, and I think the 50-year was like $1 a year.
Yeah,
for
$1, well, I don't know if it was $1 a year or $1 for the whole lease. But that's, I'm sure that's negotiable, and I'm sure the dollar is more honorary than.
Yeah, I think just to put something on paper. But I think it's something that, needs to be looked at, and, the building community, I don't know if they, I dare say, I don't know if it's best to get a ballpark. I mean, it's gonna come down to dollars and cents is really what it's gonna be, and if it's gonna cost, and every day we wait, it's costing us more and more money. It's not getting cheaper. But I think if we do it, but I know it's gonna be there, but we all have to have a united front. We all have to present the best foot forward, and, what's gonna benefit the district the most. And, you just said, you timed it coming from there, but did you time it coming from Sanborn Road into downtown? When you did your little test
No,
run?
I haven't done that. Well,
Okay.
because, I did with the Focus, I was trying to make a point about,
Yeah,
but yes, I mean, I can go over there. I'd definitely be happy to do that.
well, no, I mean, it's tougher, like, if it's a Friday afternoon in July, it'd be a whole lot different than,
Absolutely.
a Friday
But
afternoon in
I'm in my
December.
truck, I don't get to change the lights, I don't
Right.
have a siren, I can't like, make people pull over for me.
Neither can
Is it a front
we.
bumper?
Yeah, push guard, that's all you need.
Yeah,
But, it's tough, because it's gonna be,
right. But then you're looking at that point, you're looking at a 1 mile, let's just say you have that point, and this is not to shut down. And like I said, the facilities committee that I sat on when I was commissioner there years ago, the intention was, if I'm not mistaken, the proposal that we put forward included upgrades to Park Street along with the new station. So there was never, it wasn't a single station gig, it was essentially the same as we have, but with a better Center Street station. Minus the Center Street location, it was, we're replacing Center Street, not really changing the district that much. Obviously, a slight location modification, as we can't build on Center Street. That was really the only major difference, but, Sanborn Road is still within the additional, 38%, I mean, because we're looking at 40-some-odd% within a mile radius of Center Street. And then when you look at your second largest diameter or circumference, whatever circle of call data that you look at, it's over towards the exit 20 area. So you're meshing those, you still have the greater percentage in that area along the Route 3 strip.
My opinion, I'll give you my opinion. Number one, I don't look at it like Tilton and Northfield. It's a district. It's two towns that are trying to do one thing. So I don't look at it like Tilton pays more than Northfield, because we have, there are more calls in Tilton, they should pay more. So I don't look at it like that. I look at it like we're all one, we're one.
Right, but you just made my point.
Yeah, you just said it. You said you don't look at it that way, but then you said you do.
Well, it's one district. So why would you look at, we should have it in Tilton because we pay more.
No, that's part of it. My point with the tax rate is through the alienation of Tilton. I feel, I personally feel as though taking all of our operations and making one single location on Park Street where the current station is down there, you're alienating Tilton, and you are compromising response times. I mean, that's not my opinion, that's fact. That's fact. I mean, that's why I don't know how the commissions in the past have ever came up with this charge to go with that one single location. I have an idea, but I'm not gonna put it out in public right now. But,
Well,
I think the
Can I
idea
can Paul finish his comment?
Well, there again, I think we need one station. You can't have equipment down here and guys up there with equipment. If they need something down here, then they're gonna fight traffic to get down here. It doesn't make sense to have two stations. Cost-wise, it doesn't make sense. And that's proven. Look what we go through now. And we want to do the same thing, except we want to make it further apart.
At some point in time, it was decided that anywhere within a 1 mile circle of our current headquarters is a good place for a station. Is Sanborn Road in that mile circle? I don't think it is.
No, it's not.
Park Street is, we own the land. The commissioners charged the committee with a specific charge. That's what the committee has done. I believe that the fire district should obtain that land on Sanborn Road at fair market value. Outright purchase. Put it in the bank, you're gonna need it. A big reason I believe that the charge ended up the way it did was because we own that property, free and clear. We bought more property after the focus became that property. Additionally, we need to keep our eye on the prize. Question is, what is the prize? The prize in my mind is successful vote to build. We've shown 1, 2, 3, how many times what happens when you want to spend all the money at one time. Money no object, have at it. If this were my personal money, it'd be done totally different. But you have too much, I want this, I want that. It ended up what it was. To get something that meets the needs currently, with an eye on the future, which is why I say, don't lease that land, buy it, fair market value. They can sell it for municipal use, so they could sell it to the fire district. Because when it comes down to actually needing that, excuse me, needing that land, fair market value then is gonna be way more than fair market value now. So, and you've gotta have buy-in. And if the committee cannot stand before the public with 100% buy-in amongst the committee, and the commissioners can't do that, you've bought yourself a failed vote.
Can I ask a question? In the past, I believe one of the plans was having a building and then maybe having a substation, right? Or two substations, instead of a building and a substation, it was two substations. And Rome isn't built in a day, because as a taxpayer, I don't wanna finance Rome in a day. But do you think the voters would buy into, we have the land in Park Street, and then we have the land on Sanborn Road for future, and then the money's coming in, and then you have the time to do the studies and the request for quotes, and you have the learning experience of possibly doing Park Street, but we learn from things, and then moving forward, maybe this teaches us maybe better ways to manage the money, what we learn from it, and then we have the second location so that we're getting the district. And again, you know, it's like the school district, the fire district, the water district, sewer district. You do have a little bit of the yes them mentality, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just people want to be represented for their tax dollars. I'm no different from that. What I'm thinking as a taxpayer, because we seem to be given an idea, a concept, and then we have a dollar amount given to us, and I don't know, whose budget has ever broken on budget? I mean, you can't, especially with COVID, everything has been such, pricing has been volatile. Do you think it would be advantageous to maybe add on to Park Street, but then you have the land, like Kevin says? Because as a taxpayer, I prefer saying, we own the land, we'll build the land, because what happens in 50 years if they say, we're not renewing your lease? You know what? I don't think that they'd do it, but, you know, I have trust issues. So that's what I'm thinking. I don't know,
Well,
phasing it?
So the request for proposal, okay, the preliminary design. The first item is performance-based needs study. Okay, first item on it. Now, these are bulleted, they're not in order of priority, okay? Including 3 meetings with the fire district, with the fire department. 5 meetings with the building committee. 2 meetings with the commissioners. Prepare PowerPoint presentation for public meetings. 5 public information meetings, presentations. Provide cost estimates during design development. So what, the 2 things stand out to me. One is the first item, which is a space needs study, okay? The first thing they're gonna do is they're gonna say, this is what we recommend you have for building, or what your requirements are. And then another item is provide cost estimates. So there's no reason not to take a step back and say, okay, we've gone through all this page after page of requirements. Now we're hiring you. Let them do their job. Determine what the space needs are, and we can ask them for rough order of magnitude. What's it gonna cost? Be it at Park Street. I think Park Street should be the focus unless we have firm ownership of Sanborn Road. If their space needs come back and say, look, Park Street is not viable, then if we have Sanborn Road, we can use that. You know all the different scenarios. But my important point is the first thing we're gonna ask them to do is determine what we need for space. And then one of the other very early components of this proposal is, what's it gonna cost? So those two things, I think, and I suspect you'll all agree, are crucially important.
Go ahead.
Just speaking of Sanborn Road, and we talk about space needs, I'm just gonna throw a rough number out there, but I believe that if you use the middle of that, the entrance to the police station, the public entrance, to the left of that is about 3 acres, give or take, of space. My first question is, if you're looking at purchasing at a fair amount market value, do you only need 2 acres? And you can have 1 acre, so,
Let's discuss fair market value, because there's restrictions on that property. You can only use it for a municipal complex, right?
right,
So what
it can only be
other,
used for municipal purposes.
okay, so it could be a parking lot, right? But it can't be on 2 or 3 houses,
No, you can't put,
right? So what's fair market of a field?
you can't put
They can-
Chick-fil-A there, you can only
Right.
put
Exactly.
something.
So maybe the fair market is $1. If there are restrictions on it, what other municipal use would there be? And what would that value of that property be to obtain that end? You know, would the town of Tilton want to put a parking lot in? I don't know.
But I think your point is own it.
Absolutely.
Not what you pay for, I mean, own it.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not big on the lease, I don't necessarily know about the whole fair market value, because that kind of convolutes the whole, I think, should definitely pursue the more of the land swap thing that they were talking about. I think that would be more lucrative, and be easier to sell. I think you start talking about fair market and jacking up the price of the cost to build, you're killing your proposal to the taxpayers yet again.
It ain't a fair
All had a
trade.
good point.
It's not, we have to demolish this building and get rid of it.
No,
And I
I
don't
just-
know what it would cost to do that.
But you're gonna have to do that one way or another, no matter what. That's a given cost of moving forward. It doesn't matter how other land is obtained, you're gonna have to demolish that building, or we are.
Or sell
We
it.
are, or they are, you know,
Or
but I mean,
sell it.
Sell it.
the negotiations are still yet to be made, as far as I can tell. I mean, there's not, talk is cheap. It's all
I
like
agree.
talk kind of sort of stuff. So my point was, I don't think anybody's really seriously negotiated with the town of Tilton. And again, Thursday night, I'm gonna show up and I'll say, you know what, my purpose there is gonna be to tell these guys, you need to start thinking seriously and start working with the fire commission to talk about some things. Because that property over there is very valuable to the town of Tilton. I know the town of Tilton wants it. They want it. So, you know, I mean, it's more advantageous for the town of Tilton to acquire that property than it is for the district to own Salmon
Of course it
Road.
is, yeah.
I mean, really, because like you
So
said,
the town of Tilton already owns it,
Sanborn Road.
Sanborn Road, the town of Tilton.
no, I'm talking Center Street.
Oh, well, last I heard, the whole parking situation has gotten a whole lot stickier. Something changed in the last week. I'm no longer selectman, so I don't know.
Right.
All the.
Okay, so let me put it this way. I would assume the Center Street probably, the way I've heard people talk about it in the past, the town of Tilton would be, it'd be more advantageous for them to have that property
Of course.
than would it be for the fire district to own Salmon Road. So because we do own Park Street, you know, as a district, we own Park Street. We have that. So is Salmon Road an absolute need? Not really. So, you know, there's some negotiations, I feel the negotiations could happen. You know, probably more advantageous to the fire district.
One of the questions, though, I remember one of the selectmen from Tilton, you know, we proposed, we mentioned maybe a substation up there. And the first thing to come out, we need to know a deadline. When would that be built? Would it be 10 years, 5 years, or 20 years? How can you predict something like that? I mean,
So, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, I think at one of the district meetings, a member of the public, I think it was, I wanna say it was Kevin Marshall, made a mention that to get buy-in, you can't just say, oh, yeah, we'll eventually build something down on the Tilton side. You had to have something firm and in place, because otherwise you're not gonna get that buy-in from, you know,
There's gonna be
part of the
contingencies, there has to be contingencies,
yeah.
because you know, neither Northfield, Tilton, or the fire district is gonna put themselves 100% on the line for something that is left to be determined by warrants in the towns in the district. There's just so many ifs and buts there. So it's gonna take some finagling.
But back to the original question, I mean, Lisa, I'll heed to you, this company that they're recommending, I mean, the grading system, what a great way to do it, but what's the word on the street? You know these people?
I don't, but he's done reference checks. And
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we came up with that scoring system so that we reviewed actual information, resumes.
Right.
And I think we all kind of agreed on, what killed one of the parties was they didn't submit the proper information for the cost in time. And that's why they were scored.
Didn't pay attention, right?
Right, so, but I think we
You
had,
wanna work with people that don't pay
we came up
attention?
with a
No, I
very
don't mind
fair
it.
system so that we were going to evaluate everybody equally, and that's what we did.
So it's a good word on the street with these people.
So I think we gotta stay focused. Now, I know that the original was, okay, the charge was Park Street, and I sat on the committee years ago, in 2019, where that's where we went through two stations, one station, substations. We went through that whole iteration. And the focus ended up on Park Street because we felt that that was something that you could obtain soon. Now, that was 2019, okay? We're now in 2023. The thing what we were very concerned with was Center Street would eventually just, your insurance company's gonna say, get out of there, you're not meeting any regulations or ADA, that sort of thing. And in our report, it actually said it was that we was going to meet current needs and not future needs, and that you would need something in the future. And that's where I think the idea of another station would be built. But it was to get something now, but that now was 2019. So it's been dragging the feet.
Sure, the other thing about that committee's report was at the time, you looked at Sanborn Road property was not available.
Right.
And at the time, we were told not to even talk about it. Because there was the town had the police station project on board, and they didn't want to sully the waters with a possible deal with the fire district, so they asked us not to really consider it or talk about it, and so we didn't.
So I think you should pursue that property, but I don't think you should hold up on this process, because dragging our feet like we've done for the past few years caused us to lose 5 interested contractors. You keep stopping and starting and this and that, nobody will ever bid on the project. We've got a contractor that we feel is qualified. There's no reason not to hire them for the purpose that they put in their proposal. And then you add scope and say, can you look, you do the background work on obtaining that property. And then you ask them to look at what can we fit on this property and cost. But I think that's an add to their scope. But I don't think you should add that until you know you can get that property.
So what you're saying, we should move forward with Northfield
With the
Right
space needs, and I think that,
for now.
I think I think we should ask for a contract from them and have them give you a schedule of values based on the scope. And when I say schedule of values, it might say space study needs, X thousand dollars, meetings, X thousand dollars. Just break it down to say maybe 5 categories, so that we can move forward with the space needs. You need that space needs anyway, and I'm very surprised that it was never done on all of the previous architects that were, or was it?
It was.
It was?
Yes.
Okay.
We did the space needs study when we had the Tilton School proposal, and we took that forward to the Manville Road
And that's
proposal.
different than the spreadsheet that you had?
The-
Came
the
from
ba-
the architect?
The spreadsheet that was distributed used that basic formula to come up with what currently is when I had the different option A and option B and stuff like that, so
How long is the space needs study good for?
depends, well, it's as good as long as you don't grow any larger equipment-wise or personnel-wise.
Is the one we got still good?
I would say it's in the ballpark.
Then why spend money for another one?
Because there are some differences in, when we first did the space needs study, the, say, decontamination areas were not as large as the decontamination areas that you need now, because of all the equipment that we have now that we wouldn't have had when we did the Tilton School property and things like that. So some things have changed, so you kind of have to look at it and refresh it. But I think it's in the ballpark. I don't think it's too far out.
So we've done a certain amount of prep work at Park Street, right? There's borings and
Yes,
we spent a certain amount of money.
yes.
So we don't get anything.
Well, actually, we didn't have to spend a whole lot of money. I
Right.
had the tower folks pay for all that stuff.
You evaluated the building, though, you had the building.
Yes, we had an engineer look at the
engineering
building.
firm, Building and the survey.
At the
Yeah,
ground.
we paid for the survey when we bought the land.
So there's no reason to think that it's not a viable site.
But we have the ground engineering, the survey, and the building survey.
And
So
we've been
that
told
stuff
that that
is,
will support 15,000 square feet.
I would leave that to the engineers and architect to figure out the
What that
configuration of
guy
it. But I
was-
think it would fit there, yeah.
He was one of those titled guys that in this room told us we could fit 15,000 on that lot.
Yeah, I believe so.
From Kyle Barker deal.
Yeah, I believe we
I
could.
don't know if it was
fit
him personally, but his group of people.
Yes. So I believe we could fit a 15,000, maybe even bigger there. But that's dropping a square on a piece of land. The land has challenges, I would say,
It
that
does.
would need to be engineered. Anything could be engineered, but engineering costs money. And so I don't know what that is. And that's
Right,
why you have
and
to have,
None of us do.
that's why you have to have a company like Lorero go in there and look at it and look all the engineering stuff. If we put a 12,000 square foot building here, this is what it's gonna cost because you're only disturbing this much land. You put an 18,000 square foot building here because that's what you need, but the land needs additional work and it's gonna cost more to do that. I mean, that's what these folks do. They look at they provide us with options and we need to get there.
So there's no reason not to move forward with that, but still pursue.
Sanborn
Sam-
Road.
Someone asked about the location of this. I practiced that word today. The name of the company?
Lorero?
I cannot say that word.
It took me a
So
while.
I thought I might need to say it tonight, but it just doesn't flow.
We know what you mean.
Anyway, someone asked about their location. Their headquarters is Plainfield, Connecticut. They have an office in Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
And
I think actually their engineering arm. is in
that's where all their
Portsmouth.
engineers are in Portsmouth, and they said they would be working out of the Portsmouth office if we chose them, so, yeah. One of the things I liked about Lorero is that they had all their own engineering in-house, and they didn't have to go outside for engineering.
The one thing that I actually liked about that company was the in-house engineering.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally didn't vote to go that way, but the one thing I really liked is they got engineers in-house, they're under their thumb, it won't take them long to correct any indiscrepancies or make any changes, because they're there.
So I guess the next step is we have to move forward with what we're gonna do.
So I would suggest that the commissioners make a motion to offer Lorero the job and have Lorero come up with a contract that can be reviewed by our council and Primex so that the commissioners can sign it and move forward with the terms of the contract. I think that another motion should be from the commissioners that they move forward with trying to acquire the Sanborn Road property through negotiation with the Tilton Selectmen. And if that's a possibility, and at some point in time, that we can guarantee that we will attain ownership of that property, and it's still time worthiness that we should have Lorero look at what cost would be to put a fire station there, or what would fit there properly. But I think the first thing is we have to get a contract with Lorero and have them do the space needs assessment, and the commissioners need to negotiate with the Tilton Selectmen on acquiring the Sanborn Road. I think those are the two main things we get accomplished tonight.
Want to make a motion?
Actually, I have concerns, so I'm gonna ask questions.
Okay.
So on this score sheet that's been provided, the company that you're recommending scored almost across the board consistently lower than the other company, including on your two highest weighted questions. The first one being C, the second one being, well, there's two Ds, the second D, architect qualifications. There's an 11-point difference on architect qualifications, and there's I think it's an 8-point difference under letter C. And then if you go up above that, for his prior design build experience, it's a 19. Is it 19? No, 29-point difference.
I think across the board, the difference in the architectural, we all liked one architect better than the other.
Well, I'm just asking. I mean, I have to bring it up because I'm looking at this and seeing.
So, what I think killed Fulcrum in the long run is that they failed to follow the instructions on the RFQ and RFP,
You know,
and if they can't really follow the directions that was plainly given to them, that they had a month to review and go over and then submit their submittals, which didn't answer any of the questions, the important questions that we were asking, including pricing, was it all-inclusive? And I emailed them saying, you didn't give us any of this stuff, you gotta send it in to me. And then when they did finally send it in, it was after the due date. If they can't follow instructions.
well, I'm just.
That's-
Additionally, their pricing did not include all the,
Engineering costs.
all the fees versus
So
Lurero's did include all the
Luero
fees.
was, and the committee was okay with all that. I mean, it sounded like there was one dissension vote. No.
I think, you know, my takeaway, and I think a lot of the committee would agree, that either one of these companies could build a fine fire station.
Yeah.
Either one of them is more than capable of building a fire station. They both have lots of experience, you know, they both have architectural services available to them.
Are the architects in-house or are they,
They're both hired outside.
but the one has engineers in-house?
Lorero's engineers are in-house.
So, I mean, keep in mind, the recommendation is what it is. But the Board of Commissioners is under no obligation to accept it or act on it. The final decision is yours.
Yeah, but you guys were on the board, so we have to take some advice from you guys. I mean, it's,
Right, so take it,
I weren't there, I mean,
no, exactly.
so.
So-
we're one-
The committee developed a scoring thing that we followed, that the committee followed through, and at the end of the day, Lorero was higher than Fulcrum. And so that's what the vote of the committee was, to recommend Lorero over Fulcrum.
It's really that simple.
Yeah.
It truly is.
Was your request for quote unusual, non-standard or anything?
No, we used
You
the
followed a
standard
standardized.
AIA
like,
contract.
Right, so some people are good with certain tasks and some people aren't. But if you have, when you go to bids, you know, it's spelled out what you want, and if there was a gap, and they send it in, and you get do the follow-up, and they still kind of drop the ball,
Yeah.
you know, that's something to consider. You know, it doesn't necessarily, that one aspect doesn't make a break if they're really a good company or not, but, you know, as someone purchasing the services, you kind of have to wonder,
Pay attention to detail.
yeah.
I mean, I came on the committee on the you know, towards the back end of this. So I wasn't involved in the top portion of this stuff, but from being involved with the interviews and going over their, when they submitted their proposals and stuff, I was part of that. I got to see all that, and I caught up with the other information, just wasn't part of the process prior to. And like we said, they're, with Fulcrum, their architect seemed, I mean, he seemed a lot more technically qualified and a lot more he had a lot more technical know-how as far as fire departments went, fire services. But again, they were a lot more polished, as we would say, you know, when they came for their interview. But they didn't convey as much of a hands-on type of style of doing business the way Lorero did. Lorero, they came in and they started off, I don't know if nervousness or what, but they weren't well polished. They were a little. But like I said to the committee last night when we were talking, I said they were just, to me, they were way more genuine. And you know, and when the chief did the, when he called the references and so forth, they said they loved Lorero because Lorero, you know, they only had a couple of items, you know, the little punch list that they had was nothing more than a couple of valves that were set right on urinals, and that was it. And their foreman, superintendent, the build superintendent, he's there all the time, and I can't think of the other guy's name, but he would show up too. They said these guys would show up, you know, on a Sunday late in the afternoon if someone had like, hey, something's up. And you know, personally, that had a lot of sway with me. I think it had a lot of sway with others on the committee as well.
Well, I don't disagree with any of that. I would like to kind of just throw another comment out there, which is, these are my notes from the actual meetings and reviewing the qualifications of both the companies. And so for Fulcrum, the group that we are not recommending, the one that we thought their architect was more knowledgeable with respect to fire station design. My notes say extensive design study and planning, but limited actual project design experience. A lot of his work was studies. The gentleman that worked with Lorero had significantly more experience actually building fire stations. Okay. So that, you know, while we talk about how polished the presentation was and the like, you know, we have to look deeper than that in order to get this to work. So, I guess I wouldn't get hung up on the architect for Lorero not being qualified. I think he is qualified. He's got extensive experience building, but not so much quoting NFPA codes, things like that. And I absolutely agree with Tim. I mean, either one of these companies would be great, either one. That's why we have a scorecard, to remove all the subjective ones.
Motion? Make a motion that we enter into a contract? Award the contract to Lorero. I don't know if there's another name, part of the name.
Help him out, will you?
Lorero. Help me out here.
Lorero, you said it right.
All right, Lorero.
The company name is Lorero Building Construction.
Lorero Building Construction. To enter the next phase of our building committee.
And I'll second it. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
The question of Sanborn Road.
Just and part of me says, do we want to? I'd like to see the space needs I guess,
I think we should enter a conversation with,
yeah,
a more formal conversation with.
so I'll make a motion that we have the chief enter into a more formal discussion with the Tilton Select Board about Sanborn Road. I don't know if that's,
Happy to do whatever you ask me to.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. I guess, so the chief is gonna get a hold of the selectmen. We're gonna have to meet with them again, or see if we
So,
set up a meeting, or?
The funny thing about this is that, like, I'm on the same level as, like, Jeannie Forrester in regards to hierarchy of the organization. So I would probably be talking more with Jeannie Forrester than the selectmen per se. It would be, if the selectmen want to negotiate with the selectmen, maybe appoint one of the commissioners to sit down with me, Jeannie Forrester, and maybe a representative of the Tilton Board of Selectmen that has the authority, given the authority to do so, so that we're all kind of like on equal levels. That way, Jeannie kind of knows where all the money is going to be from, and I know the fire and finances and the needs of the fire district. But the real authority of negotiating and purchasing or leasing or whatever the deal is really with the commissioners and the selectmen. So I can make recommendations, and I can certainly have all these discussions with Jeannie, or if you want me to do, if you authorize me to negotiate with the selectmen, I'm happy to do that as well. But I think it holds more water if we have a commissioner meeting with a selectman on this, or the whole commission meeting with the selectmen. I think that's where it's a negotiation for land, a land swap, or however that turns out to be. The authority is really with the Board of Fire Commissioners and the Board of Selectmen. I can only make recommendations from the information that I have and stuff like that. I think if the selectmen sit down with the commissioners, you'll have a more, at least one-on-one at some point, and hammer out an agreement and then bring it back to the bodies for them to agree upon. I think that would be more purposeful. If you want me to lay the groundwork with Mrs. Forrester, I'm happy to do that, and then bring a selectman in or a commissioner in to see if it's appropriate. I'm happy to do that as well. I want to facilitate the process in any way possible, but in the end, it will. I know it's going to be the selectmen and the Board of Fire Commissioners that make this deal. It won't be me. I don't have the legal authority to make the deal.
I guess what I would, my opinion is, find out what they want, and bring it back to us. But I don't like the one-on-one, one selectman and one fire commissioner there, because then you only got one against one. With all three of us there, if somebody's got a question to ask, it might be different than what I want, or somebody might come up with something different that I don't think about.
I understand what you're saying, but I think the one-on-one thing gets a basis ground work of an agreement in place. And then when you go to negotiate as a full board, the nitty-gritty of some of the details can be worked out. But if you get like the basis down, this piece of land for this piece of land, this for that, get all those lined up in a row, and then at least you have the subject matter of what you're negotiating on paper, and not just trying to fly off the top of your head in front of 3 against 5 or whatever it would be. You have a basis to go by.
I guess you're probably right. That's probably the better way to do it. So
If you want me to set up the basis part with Ms. Forrester, I'm happy to do so, and then bring that back, and then the commissioners and maybe the selectmen appoint a member of each board to sit down and go over that to see if there are any sticking details, and if they can come to an agreement, I'm sure they can bring it back to their boards for a more solidified deal.
I'm okay with that, what do you guys?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay, now you have to
Yeah.
undo everything you
All right,
did
I'll
and
rescind
redo
my
it.
motion, I'll rescind my motion.
I'll rescind my second.
Okay. I'll make a motion that the chief meets with Forrester, Mrs. Forrester, or Miss Jeannie Forrester, to get details and then present it to us.
Second.
It's been moved and second, any discussion on it? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I jump back in real quick?
Hmm?
Can I jump back in real quick?
Sure.
One final question. So the building committee has a scheduled meeting for April 24th. And I guess what I'd like to know is, does the Board of Commissioners want us to continue prior to any of this information that you're obtaining and prior to, you know, being under contract with Robert Earl?
So the process for the contract is I will contact Lorero tomorrow and have them submit to us a contract for legal review. That review will go to Primex, and then it'll go to our town council to make sure it's favorable to us more than Lorero in the end, and all the liabilities are taken care of. That's gonna take a couple of weeks anyways.
So you're gonna send a letter, a notice of award,
Yes.
basically, you put it in writing,
Yep.
there's plenty of forms. The other thing with the building committee, would it be appropriate for us to look at their scope that they submit and fee? I think you have to ask for a schedule of values, so
Yeah.
they kind of, but maybe we don't need to, I guess I'll leave that up to you.
Question.
Go ahead.
Would we have to have a signed contract before the building committee has any communication with Lorero?
I think you're gonna have a contract before you do, before Lorero does any work.
Yes.
Right, but I'm just thinking in the essence of time. I mean, if we wait until May, you're waiting 6 weeks potentially. Whereas if we, as a board of commissioners, once we have that back, we have to call an emergency meeting to review that. I think it's important that we do that, and especially if it happens to be before your next meeting on the 24th.
So that meeting was scheduled last night, and it's kind of a tentative meeting, dependent upon the conversation we have tonight. But we're anxious to meet twice a month, as we have been, in order to ensure that we move forward, that Lorero has whatever information they need, and that there's some level of oversight, because part of the request for proposal was 5 meetings with us, the building committee. So, you know, our fingers are still gonna be in this, and what, I guess, I lied. I have another question. Okay. And this kind of leads into, Mr. Sattler is a member of the building committee, okay? He's now a commissioner. So Mr. Silly used to be the commissioner's representative to the building committee. Will we have a new commissioner's representative? And will we replace Mr. Sadler's position on the building committee?
So that was gonna be handled further on in the agenda, but
Okay.
I imagine so, yes. That's
I
okay.
mean to jump the gun.
Well, you didn't see the agenda, so.
So, I mean, we're in position to meet twice a month, to keep Lorero moving forward, any information they need, any questions we have. We have the wonderful lady, Lisa Martin, who's giving us guidance from the construction side of it, the engineering side of it. She's got tremendous experience.
I guess I have a question, and that would be, is it appropriate, once Lorero submits a contract, that we have the building committee look at it to confirm that the scope matches.
Yes,
And that's what I was
yes,
getting at.
it is asking, and that's why I expect I would do anyways. I definitely would do that.
I just don't want us to be any hindrance to the progress of the committee.
Nor do I.
I will just move this process along as absolutely fast as possible without trying to make any mistakes. And that's why I'll have other people looking at it besides myself.
So it sounds like the April 24th meeting is not necessary if it's gonna take several weeks to finish correspondence to get.
So first of all, we need a contract from Lorero. We should look at it, make sure it has everything in it that we have. Once we think that it contains all the items that we think should be in the contract, if that's okay, then we don't have to have any further contract with Lorero. But if there's things missing, we might have to back and forth with Lorero a couple times. Once we decide that the contract looks like what we want it to look like going forward, then it's going to go to Primex. And Primex is going to review it for liability issues to make sure that the fire district was protected from liability from anything that Lorero might or might not do. Once they approve it for liabilities, it goes to our town district council to make sure all the Ts have been crossed and the Is have been dotted and everything is in legal format. And once he approves it, and we've already approved it, the commissioners can sign it, and then we can actually get to work.
So I was.
Primex is going to take 4 to 5 days, probably, to review that. Attorney Fitzgerald would probably take a couple weeks.
So we should keep our meeting as scheduled unless we do not have contract back from Lorero. It won't take them long. They have that AIA form.
Yeah.
So the contract's not public until they sign it.
Is that true?
Negotiations,
It's
not.
kind of like
Oh,
a
it's
negotiation,
Oh, okay.
but the commissioners can authorize us to look at it and review it, because it's not official until they sign it. And
Which is why it shouldn't be public.
Yeah, if we review it at a
And
meeting,
we-
it becomes public.
This
That's what your
committee
point
is,
is.
this
all
committee
right,
is
then
public.
how about, if the commissioners are comfortable, how about if I have a meeting with 1 or 2 members of the committee, so as not to make a quorum?
You could always go into non-public to review the contract.
But that would exempt.
A committee
that
can't,
would exempt
only the
us.
Board of Fire Commissioners can
So
go in
what if we
non-public.
had a joint meeting with the committee and go
Right.
to non-public?
You could do that.
If we had, even if it's on the,
We can't, as a committee, have a non-public.
right,
No, but the
We-
board can
We
with the
could be
committee.
invited
To a commissioner's
To a
to a
meeting.
non-public with the commission.
right, so if on the 24th, is it on Monday?
That
It
is a
is.
Monday.
So if on the Monday we have everything lined up and we have a joint meeting and make it a non-public so that we can go over things with you and then get your feedback, and then if there's no changes, we can sign it.
Oh, no, you can't.
Well,
No,
We can send it out.
You can send it on for review.
yeah, all right, send it, sorry.
and on it goes.
Have yourself there.
Sorry.
Yeah, but that would be fine.
So shall we keep the 24th of
Keep the
April?
24th, and we'll notice it as a commissioners meeting and invite the building committee to that commissioners meeting.
And if we don't have anything, then.
And if we don't have
it'll be
anything, we'll
canceled.
cancel it.
That work for
Can
you?
we at least prod Lorero to let them know that we have a meeting
I'll
on the
have a,
24th?
not only will I inform them in writing, I'll have a phone discussion with them tomorrow.
And just,
You should notify Fulcrum as well, right?
Yes, I will
That's
notify them as well.
Business-like thing to do.
Yep. I always do.
In writing.
And a phone call, it's both, I always do both.
5:30, what time do you guys normally meet?
5:30.
5:30, all right. Here?
Yes, this room is already booked for the 24th.
so can I Can I ask one more question?
Tim
He's the chair, he's the chair.
Tim stays late a lot.
So,
Oh, there's some gentleman just came in.
so if Mr. Sattler is no longer the vice chair of the building committee, it will be incumbent upon us in our next meeting to elect a vice chairman. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think the commissioners are gonna make Tim Sattler the commission representative to this committee.
Well, I don't wanna say that. I would be very happy with that decision, if that were the decision.
Are you enjoying your time on the building committee?
Yes, I am.
Would you like to represent the commissioner?
Yeah, we'll do that later.
Well, I just figured we'd just jump ahead and do it
now.
Get it done.
That seems to be happening.
You still might need to elect somebody else for vice chair.
No, you can
No.
still
I
serve
can
as
still
the
be
vice.
vice chair?
You can still be vice chair.
You can,
But you'll be non-voting, right?
no,
No,
Commissioners?
you'll vote.
the only
The only one that
non-voting
doesn't
member.
vote is me.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right. The only
I stand corrected.
So we all set there?
Yes.
Okay, let's move on.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
talk to Shane.
Aren't those chairs awesome?
These just chairs in general.
Yeah, these are the most uncomfortable chairs.
Well, they're so
We
short.
got them for free.
Rather sit on
They're
the
right
sofa.
on it. You see them in other places too.
Thank you for coming, you guys.
Welcome.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
I just kinda like it over here. I kinda like it back here.
Yeah.
Oh, I do.
Good. All you see is the back of your head and the camera.
You know, the glasses.
A nice bald spot.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's move on.
Are we done with public comment?
Oh,
No.
no.
I didn't see the agenda. I'm not here for that.
Public comments usually, well, on this agenda, it's down at the bottom, but
Oh, all
I'm
right.
sure,
we can
I'm
move it
sure
up.
we can move that for you.
Well,
Well,
that would be good.
that would be up to the commissioners.
That would be not, I didn't see your agenda, so.
Okay, let's, we'll move number 11 up to number 5. Public comment.
Yeah. Thank you for moving that up. A couple things. So, just to follow up on the annual district meeting, how the budget is presented, was presented. Let's talk about how it was presented. I personally, as a taxpayer, seeing the DRA form and having one line for the fire department, because the form is really created for a town use with the departments of, you know, DPW, fire, police, blah, 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 so you can itemize it. And for the fire district, I equate it to buying a car and they say it's $45,000, but you don't know what the options are because the line says 45,000 and it's not itemized. In the past, we've done the itemization and the comparison last budget versus, you know, what the chief wants, what the budget committee wants, and what the commissioners want, so you can see where things go up and down. You know what, I find that it's, you're gonna get much more of me coming to these meetings and pushing for the old style of communicating your budget. The towns, when you open up and you see the towns, both Tilton and Northfield, itemize things, and you're looking so you can see that comparison, which will come into play on a few other things. It makes it hard for us to discuss things when you can't see where things are going up and down and how you justify it. And then the data being presented, and I understand the difference between audited and unaudited, being on the budget committee. So presenting that, saying the figures we're presenting are unaudited, and explaining that to the taxpayers so they understand, but not having correct data, and when I'm handed data and the data is all wrong, it's not the best way for any of our representatives to put their best foot forward, because their best foot is not going forward, because it's a little embarrassing. I found it angers me, because you're looking for information and it's not coming to you. So could it be considered deceptive? Yeah, I'm like, it's like you're throwing numbers out, or you're not throwing numbers out, you can't give the numbers, and we're asking for the numbers, you can understand where it can be frustrating. And it can turn really quickly on the audience against,
It did, I mean, it did turn on us.
it did, it turned ugly.
Yeah, it did.
It turned ugly, I'm not gonna lie about it.
And in years past, we have offered, there has been a large, the full, or some more detailed budget offered.
And you changed it for whatever reason, but I'm telling you, as a taxpayer, you're asking me to buy something sight unseen. I gotta tell you, I'm not gonna do it.
I think we've had copies available, but what's put into the town report is
The one number,
well,
It's one number.
the DRA form versus, and then we always had,
if you've never had this said to you,
no, but what I'm saying is, I think in the town report for space, they asked us to send in the DRA, but we should available at the meeting, just, on
well,
the table.
what was made available to me was incorrect, because the data on it was incorrect, but one of the budget committee members said, oh yeah, it was online, I didn't find it. And you know how I am, I'm bugger online. I couldn't find it, I'm telling you, I just couldn't find it. So when it was handed to me, then I was told the numbers that were reflected on it were incorrect, and it had the print date of the meeting. So you really, really need to think about that, because I'm coming back next year and asking you to do it, and if you don't, communication's gonna go out to my taxpayers saying, hey, they don't plan on doing this, so here's the data, and if I ask for data and I share it with people and it's not accurate, you're gonna have an angry audience. Because if I'm sending out an email and I'm asking for information and it comes in inaccurate, and I'm sharing it, saying this is the draft, and I'm very politically correct, this is the draft that they're sending me, and I'm assuming, and so are the people getting the information that I share it with, they want as accurate as possible. Again, audited versus non-audited, I get it, but at the point that we're in February, we should have a pretty firm idea of what the numbers are, pretty firm. And I know, invoices come in late and everything else. I have the same issue at work. So, our budget is now something like $3 million. So this is gonna be fun when I suggest this. Because this is a $3 million budget, possibly the fire commissioners should consider meeting more than once a month. I'm not saying weekly, but seeing that you're up to $3 million, $3 million. Town of Northfield had a budget of $3 million, less than that, and they meet every week. Tilton is up, and their budget is much higher. They're in the $6 million range. I was surprised by that, but they meet on a weekly basis. This is something that possibly,
Actually, they only meet twice a month.
Tilton's only meeting.
This past year, we met the first and the third Thursday.
Oh, really?
However, on occasion, if we had a meet
Yeah,
a third
as
time,
needed.
yeah, as
As
needed.
needed, you throw it in. Yeah.
But new board now, I don't know if that will continue or not. But
I might offer a comment on what you're just saying there, whereas a town has many things to consider during the course of the month. The fire district, even though it has a $3 million budget this year, we're really only looking at one subject matter.
One
with
department.
One department.
Yeah.
So, I'm
There's
not
a lot
saying that.
happening. No, I understand, but I'm throwing it out there. I'm not saying change it. But you know what? Think about it. It's you're up to $3 million. That went really quickly, in my opinion. So after the meeting, someone said that we're proposing, if part of your budget was built in, and I'm looking at the selectmen, and I'm not, because I'm supposed to direct to them, a 10% salary increase across the board is
That's
what was in the budget.
The state's getting that.
The state has proposed that, the state is not getting that.
Well, it hasn't passed yet.
Hasn't passed.
It's in the budget.
It's in the budget, it's not, it may not pass. So, and as a state
We
employee,
didn't have that in our budget.
someone told me you were planning on 10%, so that's why I'm asking.
No, that's incorrect.
That's totally
Okay,
wrong.
all right. Listen,
I wish.
You know what, so,
How far is it? How far off is it?
7.2, I think is what we got.
and then you have merit increases,
No.
not yet merit
Those total.
increments? Is
No.
there increments built into that?
No.
So it's just that one?
Yes.
Yes.
So you no longer
was a
do merit,
COLA.
you
It's
never
some-
do the increments, the steps?
7.2 COLA is what we got this year.
It varies, Gretchen. Most years, the board has given us the step, which is a 2.5%. But because we have fallen so far behind in comparison to other departments in our area, they were trying to get us closer to being in the median.
So are you no longer doing, you were doing job descriptions and then you were doing steps and the merit raises? And
It hasn't
was
happened
just
since I've
steps.
been here.
so that's fallen by the wayside, so now you're only doing COLAs?
For the past 2 years, it's just been a COLA. Before that, it was just a step.
Okay, so there's no merit involved in any of this, everybody just across the board, it doesn't matter what the performance is, they get this?
Everybody on our department performs at an excellent level.
And you guys decided on 7.5?
That was based on
Based on,
a number of factors, trying to stay within the middle, the median of other area fire departments that we compete with, and looking at the cost of living, which was at 9 point something, 1 or 2% last year. There was discussion back and forth on where it was going to be, and 7.2 ended up being a compromise of where, trying to maintain.
But you've been doing like about
Competitiveness.
2.5% previous years for the last 2 or 3 years?
Oh, for longer than that.
So that's your standard in the past?
Yes.
Yeah. Because that's something I'm gonna be asking for next year, before we go to the meeting. Because honestly, I don't, you know, and everybody, and granted, I work for the state, but until I get that raise, you know, I have a job, they offered me the job, I knew what I was getting into, and I took the job, and I'm not unhappy with my job and the people I work with. And if I don't get that 10%, I don't think I'm getting it. I'll be honest with you, I don't think I'm getting it.
I think you will be.
You
I
think so?
Yeah.
And you know
From all
what?
the politicians
I don't
I've
spend the
talked to.
money until I see it in my paycheck.
Well, I wouldn't either, but
But I think on a whole,
all the
our
lobbyists I
community-
talked with,
Yeah.
being in the New Hampshire Associates of Fire Chiefs, we hire lobbyists, and all the lobbyists talk with each other, and the governor and the House and the Senate generally agree that if the state does not do the 10% this year, and I think follow up 2% next year, which I personally don't think is enough, but you know how many open positions there are in the state?
yes, I do. I can tell you on a daily basis.
So, for example, the state police are down 70 troopers right now.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
don't know how they're ever gonna catch up.
yeah, I know
The-
someone
the
that
fire
just recently
marshals-
retired and why.
The fire marshal's office is down several investigators, enforcers, and code enforcement people.
Safety's down, DOT is down 20%,
Yeah,
you know?
so, yeah,
And they're on the lower end of the wage schedule, so,
I
with the
know.
responsibility, so, yeah, I do. You know, I started at the state in
So,
HR,
so I think the elected officials, and certainly the governor, sees that this is gonna be a detriment to the state going forward if they don't raise the pay level to try and help retain some of the employees they have, and maybe hopefully attract some more people to apply for a lot of these open positions, because in the end, if the state can't hire people, the state's gonna go down the drain.
Well,
Because it
listen,
won't
I
run.
get it, you know, I do, I see it. And, you know, I work in support DOT, and I do, I
So
get it.
maybe you can help me with something.
I can refer you to people. So, what it comes down to is, all these raises come back to the taxpayer.
Yes.
So, you know, we have
Well,
to keep them in.
the taxpayer, the way the income, the state achieves their income is through fees. They don't,
Right. But they're not 100%.
in business tax, which I think they're trying to eliminate the business tax. So
Yeah.
that's in the budget as well. I
But
don't
we're
know
not
if they'll pass.
self-funded. The state isn't self-funding with fees and and permit fees and, you know, enforcement
Well,
fees and everything else.
that's why they, like the Meals
Meals
and Rooms tax essentially was supposed to go to education and back to the communities. The state's rated that terribly, and now last year they gave a little bit more back than they should have, and the state has done a lot of things that have made it the environment that it is today that I think were detrimental.
Right. Well, that could be said for any state, you know, you can tell from my accent, I'm not from around here. But, and there's a reason why I moved north. So, I think on par, I think we do things well in New Hampshire.
I
compared
agree,
to-
I agree.
I think I think that this form of government really works and stuff, but I just, you know, I wanna caution you. So the rumor's out, so now it's been squashed, but I will be back next year looking for information. And I really strongly, you know what, we're talking about, like you said, you're one department. And I don't think adding 1 or 2 pages in either one of the annual reports is gonna make a difference in the print job pricing. It really
We get
is.
instructions from the town administrators, no more than 2 pages.
Okay, then I'll go to them. I don't have a problem. I'll go to the selectmen, I'll send an email
And it
tonight.
has to be in Word format and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, no, you know what, I've done the material stuff and printing, so I understand the restrictions, so.
I can change the font and still make it 2 pages, but they tell us what font to use too,
Yeah,
so.
so, all right, so that's all I have, because I had to be home by 7. So,
That's
thank
6
you for
minutes.
moving me up, I do appreciate it.
7:01. So
I
you're
think, I'm always late. Oh,
That
that
clock-
oh, that clock is off.
Wrong every time.
I have like 10 witnesses that
Listen,
can.
the budget, the
can-
battery budget's awfully low.
Well, listen, you know, not
Gretchen
everybody's
who?
paying their taxes, so, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank
And I
you.
know you got a big year ahead of you. I think
Come back more than
the
once a year.
committee, I think the committee is doing well. Being from an outsider, I was at the meeting last night, I think they're doing well. And the only other suggestion I would have is possibly sharing that space study that has been done prior, so that they can see what other people have suggested, so moving forward. You know, I find as a person, comparing stuff when I'm doing purchases or whatever, or looking for things,
Sure.
if you have something to build on, even if it's just an example, at least they know what they're looking for, and you can say, hey, well, they thought this was good, and you know what? It can only be helpful to you, I would think.
I think it's on the website now.
That's the set.
It is.
Oh,
It's on the
it's already
website,
on the
yes.
website.
Yeah. I spend all day on the computer. So thank you, you guys all have a nice holiday.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Gretchen.
Take
You
care.
too, stay well.
Oh, Easter.
It is on the website.
I
Trying to
thought-
figure out what holiday.
Mm.
Yes, Easter's a holiday, but not for us.
We'll cross
It's a
holiday.
religious
More
holiday.
public
We go
comment?
to 5 o'clock, it's
On Easter?
on Saturday.
Oh.
District, public comment.
Any more public comment?
Well, of course. So, have you looked into buying fuel from the state?
I've looked into it briefly. We didn't have moved forward on it because the state fuel is so far away for us to travel. Whether we go to Belmont or Franklin, which are the 2 closest ones, it doesn't make sense to me to send a fire engine on the other side of Franklin to fill up with diesel when we can do it here in town. And we're not paying any taxes, but we might be paying a few more cents per gallon.
Do you know what the actual cost difference is?
Off the top, no, I don't, it's
I
changed.
was floored when and I can't quote the number because I forgot it. I was floored at what the town of Northfield's paying for fuel. 2 something.
$2 and something cents a gallon. I'd have to, I'll contact them.
You know, and it's, that is in Belmont, I grant you that, but you can sneeze from the town line and hit it if you got a really good cold. You know what I mean? It's not,
It's only like 2 miles from the.
there's a
town line.
truckload of money to be not spent. I don't use the word saved, because we don't save money, we spend money. But there's a truckload of money to not be spent.
I'll look at it again, because it
Um,
wasn't that much
And
of
it'll
a
make a big
difference the
difference,
last
you
time I
know, it
looked,
will.
which was, the last time I looked at it was October, I think.
Yeah,
Where do we currently buy?
We just use the WEX program.
that's what we were doing, and with,
Does that allow you to buy anywhere? or-
Yes.
Yeah.
So like,
and you can get in over there
Yes.
One of the problems we have is we have to fill out, we have a policy, Nick said every fire department has the policy is, once you get to 3/4, you have to fill it back up. So we'd be driving, right now, we do it when we're coming back from calls. We've never passed that. I mean, I don't know the cost difference, but that would be one of the issues is driving out there every time. It takes, we go to the fuel pumps a lot. And the reason is because if you go to a fire, you have to have over 3/4 of the tank or it's not, doesn't make sense. So, and we do it coming back from calls right now. So I don't know the cost difference, so it's just, it's all.
The thing is, if we're running to other towns to fill our tanks, we're out of our fire district, and I'd like to prevent that as much as possible. And so that's one of the things, one of the factors we consider as well.
Your car goes out of the district every day.
It does. But I'm not the main
No, I
person
get it.
responding to emergencies that, you know.
The other thing I want to say is negotiation for Sanborn Road is the job of you three commissioners. It's not the chief's job. It's your job. Man on the end of the table has more than enough to do, even by my standards. He has more than enough to do. The negotiation is 91A32D, acquisition, discussion of acquisition of real estate. So it would be non-public. Should be between the three of you and the 5 members of the Tilton Board of Selectmen. It's not,
I think just to set the meeting, have the chief talk.
and a letter. Are you interested in discussing terms under which the fire district would become owner of the parcel of land on Sanborn Road? They'll respond, yes or no. It's your job, not his job. Is there anything else interesting on the agenda, or should I go eat? You're going to go eat, I know no matter what it is.
What are you eating?
We need a district clerk.
Eat. What are you looking at?
I think you got a vote or two.
I probably did.
You got a vote,
A vote?
a vote.
I can tell you it wasn't mine. But that's just like a spot on the school board. I wouldn't take it. Won't do it. So,
We'll cover that when we get to it on the agenda.
Just be careful, if you're not here, you might get,
No.
you know, I've declined
The water
nominations
district
before.
thing I have, that's,
So,
oh, the ISO thing I have to bring up. But
That's
under
under
other
old
business.
that should be, you can bring it up under old business, because you've discussed it before.
Yes.
can I sneak a peek at an agenda before I go?
Sure.
Is it available? Thank you.
Is this agenda usually pretty
Have a good
similar?
Pretty close, yes.
this means it was well.
Okay, now
It
we've done
is.
that. Let's move on to the chief's report.
Okay, of course I sent out the chief's report last evening, so I'm sure you guys had plenty of time to review it. If you want me to go over it, I'm happy to do so, or if you just have questions that you would like me to answer, I'm happy to do that. You let me know which way you want me to go.
I prefer you going over it. That way we stop and ask questions along the way.
All right.
That's my opinion.
Okay, the operating budget for 2022, we're at the end of the fiscal year, we spent 97% of the budget, maybe 98%, I think that should be 98%, not 97. And at the end of the year, I think we had $52,000 left over that we did not spend. I don't have that spreadsheet in front of me, but that's the number that rings out in my head.
Do you know what the unassigned fund balance is? Have they given us a number yet?
They have not.
But the number they gave us for district meeting, the unofficial one, it's gonna be close.
Yeah, it'll be real
I
close,
don't remember what that number was.
about that amount.
I don't remember what it was. Nothing.
150-something thousand.
Yeah,
But that's,
that was after
After
they
all
had
the
set
actions.
money.
Well, wait a second, it's gonna be 170-something thousand because we didn't take any money out of the fund to create a contingency fund. So it'll be closer to 170, 100.
but we need to have much more than that.
Yes,
should
we
have-
do.
We should have almost $500,000 in there.
Well, what they're talking about is the unassigned fund balance at the end of last year. So it would not include that.
But they had $200,000 taken out of it.
Right, they did, but that would not include the 20,000 you're talking about.
Right. There's assigned and unassigned.
Right,
Yeah. So the unassigned value, I think, will be 170-ish.
150, 170, somewhere in
Yeah,
there.
somewhere in that ballpark.
But if you add the 200 that they're holding.
And,
Well,
but that
they've added
is,
more to that, so.
yeah,
Right.
so when we add that, it's, with that added, it's like
It'd be closer to
close
400.
to 600.
No, it's closer to 600.
Well,
Yeah,
then we
When
would
you
be-
take what the water district, the assigned value from the accountants, they set aside
Yeah.
like 200 last year and like around 200 this year, it's gonna be like around 400 total that's assigned for use.
it's
Yeah.
like
We
a
can't- we can't spend it.
contingency.
We can't spend it,
So-
we can't spend it.
We can't,
You can't spend
we
it
can't spend it, not until the water district
until
issue
that's done.
is settled. And that could be used to settle any,
To help.
So what, my understanding is the fund balance unassigned is 150 to 175, and the assigned is 400.
something like that.
Something
Yes,
like that.
round numbers.
Let's see. I'm looking.
I had it on my, I think it was in the PowerPoint. The second slide or the third slide in the PowerPoint.
Yes, it was. Hold on, I can get that.
I used that slide all year long. She committed to memory.
Question.
I'm just waiting for it to open. All right, so the unassigned fund balance. Stupid computer. Sorry. All these pop-ups. Go away.
Pop-up blocker.
I know. Was 196, 151. And then with the transfers and everything, it was gonna come down, let's see. This doesn't make any sense. Oh, here we are. It's at the end of 21, it was 271, 159. And then they encumbered money, they had non-lapsing warrant article, and the reserve for the water district was 443,000. So the unofficial, unassigned fund balance after district meeting is 156, 533.
And 56.
533. But that's not taking into consideration the $443,440 that has been
Put aside.
put aside for the water district liability possibility.
We really need a favorable outcome.
Right, hopefully it's a favorable one, but if it isn't, that's what we're looking at.
How often does the district receive money from the town?
Tilton
Tilton.
gives us money monthly, they pay their portion monthly, and Northfield pays it quarterly.
Probably after the fact?
Well, they're usually pretty good giving it to us the last day of the month of the quarter, or in that week.
So they just, like, Northfield just gave me money last week.
Stephanie was on vacation last week, so I'll get it this week.
Right, thank you.
you look at the DRA guidelines, we should be getting money every month from both of them. Because we're over $200,000. If we had a budget of $200,000 or less, they could wait till the last day of the fiscal year to give us the $200,000. But since we have a budget of over $200,000, they should be paying us on a monthly basis per the assessed value formula. I read it today, that's why I know it.
I had that discussion with Northfield years ago.
Okay.
So. All right, you want to move forward?
Yep.
All right, the audit has occurred, and we're waiting final documentation. 2023 budget, so far we've expended 23.4%, and we're at 25% through the fiscal year, and that's at the end of March, last day of March. Total money in the apparatus and equipment fund through March is $652,199.74. Total ambulance revenue to date in this calendar year is $140,507.74.
Is that what you would expect?
I didn't do a comparison of where we were last year, but yeah, it's probably.
It's close.
It's close. Any other questions on the finance part?
I'm fine, I'm fine.
Okay, we did not use a fire hydrant last month. In the fire prevention report, we did 39 fire prevention inspections. The run report, we responded to 155 incidents. 107 of them were EMS in nature, equating to 69% of our total call volume for the month. And the engine responded with the ambulance 39 times for MBAs or EMS incidents. Any questions on that?
How's it compared year-to-date and versus year-to-date?
So we're down from where we were last year in call volume.
I thought reading it.
Yeah, I can, I just sent those numbers out
Yeah,
today.
you just sent the email.
Yeah,
Where did
Yes.
I didn't open it yet because
I
I've been
don't-
at
It was a
meetings.
huge email.
Yes, it was.
It was long. Sorry about that. Not really.
The ambulance
March notes, here
revenue
we go.
is down $100,000 from last year.
We
This
feel,
time. No, wait a minute, wrong one.
That's not right.
It's only down to, it's up 10,000 from last year.
The ambulance one.
Revenue is up 10 from last year. I was looking at the line above it.
feels slow, but it's the second busiest year to date ever. So last year at this point, we had 520 calls. This year we have 474. But the year before that, which was our very, very busy year, we were only at 412. It's just,
It's the summer that it
It's
comes.
still early in the year.
Yeah.
yeah. So we're less than 50 calls behind, and
3/4 of the way through the year, so.
that can change in a weekend.
Okay to move forward?
Yep.
All right. Overlapping or simultaneous incidents. We had 38 overlapping incidents for the month. That equates to 25% of all our call volume in March. Mutual aid. We didn't receive or give any ambulance mutual aid requests last month. We didn't receive any engine, but we provided an engine twice, mutual aid.
You see, we didn't have a third call all month. I think that's the first time it's ever happened. We
Yeah,
didn't- We didn't have a third call.
Don't say it.
Well, now
Like
we'll have,
now.
we'll give them, we'll give them.
5 tomorrow.
Yeah.
Is the, that 38 overlapping, that seems down as well?
Yes, usually we're at around 50%.
Gone.
Last year, overall last year, 51% of our call volume was overlapping. Nothing's apparatus, there's nothing really to say about apparatus. Grants,
Can I ask,
yes.
what typically would you have in that line?
Like if there's any major repairs or a vehicle was out of
Just
service,
general
yeah, it's
information
just
about-
general information,
Thank you.
crazy stuff. I'm not so crazy once you get into business, but
Mhm.
it's just stuff. Safer grant is up to date on reimbursements. I received a Homeland Security grant to improve our radio system for $53,853. We're in the, we're using the state bid to procure the equipment, and that order has been put out, and the equipment will show up in about 3 or 4 months or something like that.
Was that grant for the total amount?
Yes. No match. Applied for the fiscal year 2022 SAFER grant to extend the current SAFER employees another 3 years.
Now, any idea when you're due on that?
They say in September.
Probability is low.
Low. There's probability that we get that will be low. We still have for Center Street, we still have a purchase order out for A&B Lock to install the new camera and security system. They're just running way behind schedule, and this will be out of last year's budget.
Approximately how much is that?
15,000-ish. I hope to come in under that, but I think that's what's budgeted for. Still waiting for the flooring. Park Street.
Who's responsible for that?
Behind the schedule on that.
Is that?
Behind schedule.
Who's responsible for that?
I just,
Park Street, AT&T has related to me that the cell tower will be up and operational. The owner of the tower is coming to see me tomorrow afternoon. He's going to squeeze that. I have a meeting tomorrow with Jeannie Forrester on another matter. He's going to try and squeeze that between Jeannie Forrester and the meeting that I have in Meredith at 5 o'clock. So if he gets it, he's coming from New York.
Is our equipment that's on the tower operational or no?
Our equipment.
Do we have equipment on that tower?
It's not operational because I'm waiting for a remote console that I ordered in November, and it's still a year out. So
it's not
the
even-
antennas are on it, but the equipment's not hooked up to it because we need a piece from Motorola to come, and it hasn't shown up yet.
So we're not drawing anything off it yet.
No.
And it would be-
Well, everything that we do in there is going to be free. All we have to do is pay for our electricity
Yeah, I
and
understand that.
propane.
But I was saying, we're not receiving anything from it.
No,
for a year.
because the tower is not live by AT&T. Although you did approve the electrical connection to it, so
Yeah, I'd probably tell you right from here what date it was.
I expect that it should be up shortly. They
In
were in
somewhere in the middle of the
AT&T.
month.
Yeah. So the tower owner has nothing to do with AT&T. The tower owner leases space on the tower to AT&T. It's up to AT&T to
24.
make it go live. They install.
And you're
all-
thinking next month,
140.
That's what they told me, and I went pretty high up the chain.
and we got nobody on it yet,
AT&T's on it.
just them?
Yes.
Okay. Now,
So
you
by-
said we could get other people.
Oh, yeah, so it's not our job to get other people, it's the tower owner's job to get
Okay,
other
so he'll
people.
get other people.
Yes, but he's under a contract with AT&T that nobody is allowed to go on that tower until AT&T is live.
Okay.
So he might be able to solicit people, and get people under contract, but nobody can go on the tower until AT&T's live,
Okay,
because they're going to be paying the most.
okay.
Okay? All right.
And that, we do have a separate fund for that.
Yes, we will receive, once that goes live, we'll be receiving income.
Yeah.
I will talk to John tomorrow to see if they're just gonna send us the monthly thing, or do we need to send them an invoice every month? I'll find that out.
And
Might
that
be-
money's going into two different.
Well, when it comes in originally, it'll go into the general fund. And then we need to do a warrant article to move half of the money into the tower ETF.
So that would be a warrant article each year at the district meeting?
Yes.
And
But I'm gonna look and see if we can get out doing that because it was set up that way. But I think we still do a warrant article.
that would be good, one less warrant article that's needed.
Well, we should definitely look into that.
Wait for the money to start coming.
Yes. Where are we?
And
Safer effect. Average response times for second or greater calls, 7 minutes 18 seconds, and that's down from all simultaneous calls.
Does that number change? Because it seems like.
It went down a little bit over the course of last year, but only by a few seconds. So I don't think it's not really gonna change going forward, unless we hire additional personnel. The other information here is a repeat. The proposed warrant article to amend the purpose of the After-Hours Improvement Fund passed. So next year, when we formulate the budget, repairs, service contracts, maintenance contracts will come out of the Apparatus Improvement Fund, and that will shift about, it's different every year, but $65,000, $75,000 from operating into the Apparatus and Equipment Fund. And as you can see from the front page, we have a lot of money in the Apparatus and Equipment Fund right now. Our next planned purchases, well, next year, I will put a warrant article in to purchase a new pickup truck with a plow. The current one is rusting very badly. And for permission to sign an agreement to purchase a new ambulance. The new ambulance, when we order it, it won't show up for 2 years. So I need to do that now so that when it is available, we're right in line of where we should be with ambulance, acquiring ambulances.
Have you taken into consideration the additional calls and the mileage that we're putting on the ambulance and whether they're gonna hold up for the?
Yeah, I keep looking at that. So, funny thing, our spare ambulance, A1, it's a second due ambulance, already has almost 92,000 miles on it. We traded our last ambulance in with 99,000 miles on it. We still have about 2 or 3 more years of service in this truck. It's going to be over 100, well over 100,000. And so we're using them more. Our call volume's up, so
Right.
everything's
That's
gone
it.
up.
Call
Transport's
volume's
up. We don't go to Franklin as often as we used to when I first arrived here. We go to Concord a lot more now.
So, yeah, that's the reason for the question. If we were hoping to get 10 years out of the ambulance, I mean, when does it go down to 9?
It's getting there now. It's the good thing is that we've bought good quality ambulances. We maintain them per manufacturer specifications. And if something's broken, we don't let things go. So they're in much better shape, even though they have 100,000 miles on them, than the ambulances had 60, 70,000 when I arrived here.
These 550s are so much better than
Yeah.
the old E450s.
Yeah.
And these F550s are just, it's amazing the difference. Now we're not at GVW, but we were over GVW at all
On
times.
the Chevy one, the G30 or whatever it is, that was
That was freighted. We were doing a front end every 6 months. And
brakes and planned. It just
It's been much, much better.
and had the death problem with that one too. It
Yeah,
was like,
that was one of the first generation deaths.
Yeah,
I was pulling my hair out on that thing. Personnel, we have one call company application pending.
We hired it,
Oh,
just waiting on a background check.
we're back on check. Currently working on dry hydrant and water cistern locations. We're adding another dry hydrant at Jay's Marina. And the application for that with DES is in process.
Where Chase Marina.
So, if you're heading towards the bridge,
Yeah.
you go by Jay's Marina, there's a culvert that goes underneath.
Yeah, where it goes to the docks. and all that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's a dirt road right after that
Yeah.
culvert that goes to the
Oh, so that's
backside
where
of
you
the
put it
docks. And you turn onto that dirt road
Oh, okay.
between a little footbridge
Yep.
and the
How
street.
deep is that there?
It's about 10 feet deep.
Yeah, I went and inspected the site with Dan the other day. Have you been down? I gotta go, yeah,
Yeah.
It's a lot deeper than I thought.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be about a foot deep.
Yeah, well, how deep is it in August?
Yeah, no, even if down a foot, it's
Yeah.
plenty deep.
Where's 299 San Juan Road?
Past Lancaster Hill.
Yeah, so,
Hold on.
if you go up Lancaster Hills on your right-hand side,
Yeah.
the next house on the right is 299.
Okay.
So it's on, if you continue down past his house, he's got a pond on the right-hand side that you can't see from the street.
Yeah.
And so we have permission to put a dry hydrant there as well.
Quite a ways back there, isn't it? That's well, quite a ways out toward it, yeah. We used to go through one in there, we used to come up there.
It's about, I think 80 feet,
Yeah.
but it's all downhill, so.
Yeah, and yeah, yeah. They pulled the deck out, I see it up there.
So I think that's about it. If any questions?
I don't have any.
I mean, I guess maybe this is for, about the inspections.
Yep.
I saw that report. Is this typical?
Yes.
Actually, it's a little slow, I think, this month.
Yeah, inspections were
Yeah.
slower. Everything was a little bit slower.
Yeah, I'm usually up around 50.
And is most of this for, like, moves, adds, and changes? People doing,
It's all, so the place of assemblies, any place that has 50 or more people assemble at a time, I have to go, or the department, actually, the shift's doing a lot of those once a year to get that permit done. Any new construction, Tilton requires me to go to every new construction made, and then Northfield wants me at anything over a certain square footage. Any commercial occupancy that's new, I have to go and certify the occupancy. And then any gas pipe that's put, any new gas pipe that's put in town, or any gas pipe that's been defunct for more than a year, I have to inspect. Any
Tanks.
yeah, any tanks, I just did 2 tanks in the
Services.
ground today. So any underground tanks for gas, any new boilers, oil and gas. So,
so somebody's burying a propane tank in their
Like,
yard?
yeah.
yep, we have to do it.
You put a new propane fireplace in your house.
We have to go, and then any electrical meter also on both towns on the, I didn't.
So how many of those locations have to be re-inspected every year?
The place of assemblies, I believe we have 78.
Wow.
That has to be done every year. CO with illness?
That's what it sounds like.
Then we have to inspect the schools.
So the place of assemblies are the only ones, so the state has taken, by NFPA 1, it says I shall do that once a year and all commercial occupancies every 3 years. The state has taken the shall out of the commercial occupancies and put may, because we need 3 more inspectors. And everywhere in the state, so that's, they've taken that, so, but by state law, we had, the only ones, well, we have to do the place of assemblies once a year. They can't get liquor licenses if we haven't done them. So that's usually what kicks them in. If we have a list that we keep up to date, but if we haven't done it, they can't get their liquor license if it isn't done.
If somebody wants to become a foster parent and have,
Yeah.
foster home, we have to go
Every 3
inspect
years, I
that.
have to go to foster care, the daycares.
Okay, thank you.
One job.
I just didn't know whether that was typical and what it all included, so thank you for
Any other questions?
I have none. Anybody else? Okay, let's move on, old business.
All right.
ISO ratings.
Huh?
Oh,
So if you, at the back of your packet is an email chain that I had with Shannon Rafalo. She's from the ISO people. And it basically explains that ISO
Duncan,
is going to reduce our
is it Traverse?
property protection class from an ISO 3 to an ISO 4. The reason being is that the water district would not convey the information that ISO needed to ISO for us to maintain a 3. And you can read the email chain. The top page is the latest, and the first part of it is like in the back,
So
so
how
it's
long
backwards.
how long before that impacts everybody in town's homeowners insurance?
So,
Not
it
long.
depends when your insurance policy comes up for renewal. And if your insurance company uses ISO rating as a factor in determining your insurance. Some companies don't use ISO rating as a factor in determining your insurance rate. I would say most companies do, but they won't tell you what the factor is and how much it is because it's all proprietary within the industry. Like, they don't want one insurance company knowing how the other insurance company comes up with their rates. So, and they won't tell us, and they don't tell anybody. And,
It's all secret.
it is top secret. But going from a 3 to a 4 is bad.
Yes.
I was quite proud when I arrived here and got us from a 7 to a 3, and now we're kind of going the other way because of our issues with the water district. The water district said they will not provide the information because we have not paid our bill. The funny thing is, they're not hurting the fire district per se. They're hurting the residents that live in the communities of Tilton Northfield.
Right.
The one thing that I would ask the commissioners for permission to do is if I could have Attorney Fitzgerald do a 91A request for the information that is required, from the water district, if they have it in a public document. If we could do a 91A request to get it from them, and then I could supply it to the ISO for them to appropriately score the water district's portion of the rating, we would go back to a 3.
So,
I guess, if it's just gonna help the people, I have no problem with it either.
Can't hurt.
Yeah.
That's the only thing we can do
Yeah.
about it. And
I'll second that.
It's been moved and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
thank you. I'll take care of that. That was other business.
Any other old business? Let's move on. New business. Ratify district meeting.
I remember doing that in the past.
Yeah, you did before. You just have to, what it is, at district meeting, there were some warrant articles taking money out of the unassigned fund balance and transferring it to the land and building fund, the fire prevention fund, the health insurance deductible fund. So, and I don't know if there are any others off the top of my head.
So we have to make a motion just to ratify it?
Yeah, you have to,
We have to go through each one.
no, you
in
can
one
do it all
motion.
at once. Let me tell you what warrant articles. Bear with me here.
Well,
All right, so. Warrant Article 3 was to have $100,000, oh, no, that's not, yeah, that's raised by taxation. Warrant Article 4, $9,627 to come out of the unassigned fund balance and into the Fire Prevention Expendable Trust Fund. Warrant Article 6, $1,811 out of the unassigned fund balance to go into the health insurance deductible expendable trust fund.
Can I, how much, it was 5,000 at one time, then we upped it. How much is it now?
It's 5,500.
5,500, that's what it should be.
That's what it has been, yes.
Okay, yep.
And this is putting the money back
Yep, yep.
to bring it to that. And those are the two warrant articles taking funds from the unassigned fund balance and transferring them over.
That's it?
Why did I
Yes.
think there was?
Because $100,000 is being raised by taxation for the dry hydrant cistern fund, as well as the land and building fund.
Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to transfer 9,000 $627 from the unassigned fund balance to the fire prevention expendable trust fund. And I forget what the other amount was.
$1,811.
$1,811 from the unassigned fund balance to the insurance,
Health insurance deductible.
health insurance deductible expendable trust fund.
I'll second it. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
I'd
Aye.
say that's gratifying.
Done.
District clerk.
Okay, I talked to Stephanie today, and she has agreed to stay on as clerk to finish out district meeting. And she's gonna be talking with Jean Sams. She was the lady that was at the public hearings, to see if she is interested, and if she is, then you'll be able to appoint her to fulfill the clerk's position. But I was able to get her to agree to. It isn't that she doesn't want the position, she doesn't have time. So, and of course, the pay was another issue.
We didn't get to pay.
I thought,
We paid her good money.
What,
Pearson made a motion.
no.
Oh, you made a comment.
You made a
Oh,
comment.
and then no one grabbed on.
No one grabbed on,
Alright.
but you as the board can set the rate,
Gotcha, we can redo.
You can,
because it's a
yes.
bottom line budget.
yes.
Yes.
You can say, okay, we're gonna pay this amount of money.
What does the clerk get paid now?
Well, the budget committee put it at $750. And last year, she was paid $1,500. Was it 15?
Yeah, it was
It
at
was
15 and then
1,500,
they cut it
yes,
to
and they cut it in
750.
half.
That's a good way to attract the place.
So how long is she gonna before?
Till the
Well, she's
minutes
gonna
are
talk
done.
to Jean tomorrow,
Okay.
and, they'll
Did Jean get
discuss.
any writing votes?
Stephanie said she did,
No?
so,
I guess we'll have to wait for that, huh?
yes. But for now, she has agreed to finish out, there's another form that has to be done that she has to sign off on,
Okay.
and it's the elected officials notice to DRA. Okay, next.
Okay, see, sign MS 232 report.
Right. All right, since, let's see, where is it? That's not it. Right there. I just have to get the right cover sheet. That one's no good. There we go. All right. This is the report of the appropriations actually voted, which just tells DRA results of the, and if you could sign beside your name.
Said over here, signature. You wanted here or there?
Here,
Okay, you said beside it.
sorry, sign
Where it
under
says
signature beside, on your, at your,
Just want to make sure I do it right.
you were right, just sign. Sorry,
It's just one or?
there's just one.
Okay.
I came prepared with several signature pages, so I had it done tonight. Thank you. All right.
Next is assign commissioner representing to the committee, the building committee.
Make a motion to nominate Tim Sadler to the building committee.
I'll second it.
Discussion. Vote.
Any discussion?
I'm perfectly happy to continue.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Quick, before it
There's
changes.
these. Okay, the budget committee.
Eric did that last year.
That's 2 years.
Yes.
You want to do it again, eh? It's up to you. All right.
Ah, sure, why not?
Okay, I'll make a motion to
I'm the
assign
selectman this year, so why not?
Eric to the budget committee.
I'll second that.
Been moved and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain. Doesn't really get involved until the fall.
Do we need to do the Safer Grant Committee?
No,
Okay.
Do what?
this is Safer Grant.
Safer Grant.
They issued their report.
Yes, okay.
Pretty much feel they're done with it.
All right, so.
Okay, review the minutes?
No, wait a minute, I have one more.
Okay. That's all that was on here.
I know, I didn't put down, see this this yellow folder that you all have sitting there? This is all the administrative policies that the Board of Commissioners have. So I went through and I reviewed them all, changed all the names so that they were correct, and updated what needed to be updated. And you need to review them and sign them, or just sign them, I do not care.
Now, you made changes, you said.
It was names, change of names,
That's all you did?
yes. And except for the capital assets policy, what was changed on there was the length of time that we have this stuff, like the ladder was in the tanker and stuff.
Okay.
The investment policy has to be done every year anyways,
I don't know if.
so.
Do we want to, take them home and review them, then bring them back?
I'd like to review them.
Okay, okay.
Put it in the archive.
That was my whole intention.
Yeah.
That's why you got it all
Remind me
tonight.
tomorrow.
I did have
Yeah.
Tim Pearson sign the
I just
investment
wanted to make sure I
policy
didn't know.
on the one page that he has. It's his directive for direct deposits. He gave authorization for funds to be deposited by someone other than him. So that's it on those.
Okay.
Didn't give him permission to take any out though.
Okay.
Next is review the minutes, 3/8/23, Paul.
Yes, and they were emailed.
Yep.
Yeah, but I don't remember them. I know I read them, but I don't, ask me today, I can't remember.
All right, hold on.
No, I'm not.
I read them.
I had nothing. I had no issues. I had no
I
mental
know
recollection.
Tim got them, did he get them, or he wouldn't?
No, I didn't, sorry, Tim, I didn't
That's all right.
email them to you.
Do you want, we can hold off and let him read them? You can read them now, or you can do them next, we can do them next meeting. If you,
I was actually at that meeting.
Yes, you were.
Yeah, if you have them, I'll read them now,
All
or
right,
if you
hold
want to
on.
do them next meeting.
we don't have, I mean, we can bring them back next meeting and do it.
Yeah,
If you want to do that, take your time and read them.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so let me forward this to you right now. Go ahead.
Any other business? Review and sign manifest. I did mine. I guess Tim's got to do his.
Right, so what is all this?
Those are our accounts payable, all money that the district has spent on different things, so like Boundary Medical, and kind of, if you look at the invoices, it tells you, so this is,
So do we typically review these at the meeting, or do we?
No,
review-
no, you review them here and you have to sign them.
Normally, I take an email out the manifest without any of the bills, and that way you can look and see what the checks are for. If you have any questions, you call, we answer them, and we do it via sign now, so that we don't have to pay bills twice a month, that way we don't have to hold the checks.
Oh, okay.
But if it's close to a meeting like tonight, enjoy looking.
Oh,
So like this one, your health trust, that's the health insurance.
Yes.
You know, some of the Plodzack and Sanderson, that's our accountants that do the audit, Westcott Law,
Lawyer.
lawyer.
Use 369.
So
No,
here,
just sign
so
now.
the police department, that was probably
It's a little
for
program.
staffing for
Yeah.
district
Yeah.
meeting.
We use
Tilton
360,
for the
it's
district meeting.
stupidly long.
Kathy Mitchell, these
Oh,
people.
really?
do
Oh,
No, you just get
Why
the,
don't you
go-
put it signed
You go
here.
right down
Depends
through
how you
them,
should take
and if you
10
got
minutes,
any,
now
you
it
can
takes
just,
an hour and a half.
Kathy
Well,
can explain
this
steps.
takes a second.
Dig into all the stuff.
Receipts.
It's easy.
My bank does DocuSign, it's wicked easy.
Oh, it's so
We
easy,
didn't have the
yeah.
information here, so if you have a question on
Just-
Sign now is
what
quick
it
and
is.
easy.
Well,
and then more
the thing is,
specifically, you can look
But
at
I
it
don't
and you
we
can
have
sign
to
it.
still have more
request
questions.
a supervisor
So here,
signature
Yeah.
also,
we have
so you gotta put him in, and then it just
$45.
gets signed to him, then all he has to do is sign it, I mean, it's designed for him, but
Is it,
to do an expense
is it
report now,
sort of
what a
like,
pain.
maybe next month?
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
don't,
get
of course I
used to
don't
this.
scan all the
Like,
bills and everything.
Next time.
Right,
maybe
right, that would make
Yeah,
Figure
sense.
station
Yeah.
and review it before the meeting, okay.
You still gotta sign it though.
Please and thank you.
If there's two signatures, it's still.
If we have two commissioners sign, that's enough for us to actually process it.
Yes.
But it's good to have all three.
Yes, it's nice to have all,
Sometimes you only get two.
yes, that is
Somebody's
true.
away or something like that.
Yes. Okay. Meeting.
Is this thing still recording?
Yes.
I know sometimes it.
Unless it dies.
Nope. It's not yet.
Okay, meeting dates, set up.
Okay, currently, your meetings are held on the first Tuesday of the month. Does that work for everybody? And then we have holidays that we have to work around. So,
First Tuesdays.
Just to let you know, May 18th.
let me drop this down. Yes, May 18th.
I am going from there, and I will be back to there.
I did have one other question, Paul, when you
Yeah.
get a minute.
You'll be back on the 30th or the 31st?
The 29th, I'll be back.
29th, okay. All right, so, and Paul always tells me when he's going to be out of town, and Eric does as well, so that if something happens, I can say, no, can't do it. So, the 4th of July this year
Is it Tuesday?
is the first Tuesday of the month. So do you want to have the meeting on the 11th, or do you want to have it later that week, or, of course, Chief is usually on vacation in that time frame.
I guess I'd prefer to have it the following week.
The 11th?
The 11th?
I have no problem with it. What about you, Eric?
In July?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, I couldn't tell you anything in July. But yeah, go ahead. I have it already on my calendar for some reason.
So May is June 2nd, May is the 2nd. June is the 6th. July will be the 11th. August. The 1st is the first Tuesday.
That's sometimes rough for you guys, but
Well, you don't get any reports, like,
You won't get the
you
reports
won't get any
early.
reports,
We
like
can do
you
the
show
8th.
up and,
do
yeah,
the eighth.
here it is.
Want to do the 8th?
I'll do the eighth.
I don't care, as long as I.
I mean, it's quite a ways away, so we can always,
Okay, September, the first Tuesday is the 5th, which is
Day after
the
Labor
day
Day.
after Labor Day.
Expect you guys to come in on the weekend and run everything.
we do the 12th.
I gotta work.
You got a job?
Yeah, I have.
Well, if you want me to do that, I can do that, but I'm gonna charge you double time and a half.
What, the 12th?
No, if he wants me to come in and work on the holiday weekend.
The other thing, starting around September, is we start usually.
When, work on the budget.
Work on the budget. I propose a budget to the commissioners and we review it. And so we can get it to the budget committee in a timely fashion so that it's somewhat done.
Like, we do some, and then they go back and do what we did, and then we do more, and then they go back
I've been on the budget committee before.
and.
Yes, you
I'll
were.
shut up now.
So the 12th, and then that's when we usually start planning the meetings for working on the budget as well. For you guys. October 3rd, is the first Tuesday. Are you okay with that?
You gonna send us a list of all these dates?
Of course, you get a calendar every month.
No, but I need it so I can put it on my calendar, because
I will do that.
I have a bunch of meetings for commissioner on the second Tuesday. It must be the old,
It's an old one.
The
yeah,
old canceled
Yeah.
one.
yeah, so I just gotta go through and cancel
Nice,
all those.
oh, November 7th is the first Tuesday. There's no elections this year, is there?
No, it's an off year.
Yeah, so, then that should be okay. And poor Timmy's got his calendar out, he keeps flipping pages.
No, these should all be fine.
All right, and that brings us to December 5th.
It's fine.
Okay. So then all you have to do is figure out when you want to work on the budget.
So you would like to know when we're not around?
Yes. Because inquiring minds need to know.
I have the cell phone number if I
So do I.
Yeah, just
I'll
'cause-
send, I'll send you those dates.
Just because you're in
Okay.
Hawaii doesn't mean you get to be off from the meeting. Just dial it
Cell phone works fine in Italy.
Okay, we all set on
Just
the
the time
dates?
difference.
Yes.
We already did public comment, non-public session?
Well, can I ask a question about something?
Sure.
I was reviewing the Comstar bill, or contract,
Yes.
and in here it says that, Article 7, it says, "The contract shall be effective for a 3-year period beginning October 1st, 2020, and ending on September 30th, 2024," which is actually a 4-year period. So when does it end? Does it end on 2024, or does it end this September because it's 3 years?
I'd have to ask the lawyer. I don't know.
So, anyway,
I don't even think the attorneys looked at that.
No. That went out to bid. I remember we went out to bid on those.
Yeah.
And then I ended up twisting his arm for an extra 0.5% in the end.
I guess it would be important to know when the contract ends, because this isn't clear.
You can't assume.
Well, and then, just a side note, in here it says that it's auto-renewing,
Right.
Yeah.
but in our purchasing policy, it says that we don't have any auto-renewing contracts.
That's true.
So I don't know how that might need to be a conversation for another day.
That's why we have the attorney look at all contracts now.
Sorry, Paul, that's all I have.
Okay. Non-public?
Yes.
We do?
Yes, we have the disposition reports and the minutes of the last non-public meeting.
Okay.
You don't need me for that.
All right, hold on. Oh, you're leaving?
That's his cue.
Right.
That's your cue.
Don't need me to do those two.
No, you don't, it's fine. Hold on, I'm getting the. Where's your little cheat sheet?
Today's the 4th.
Today is the 4th.
Those are the best pens. Thank you, New Hampshire.
Yeah, they're nice pens.
You call it today?
TD Bank pens.
Uh,
TD Bank pens.
The green one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
oh,
make a motion to go on non-public at
8 o'clock.
7:59.
7:59.
Does somebody need a second that?
Yes.
I'll second that.
Then it has to be a roll call vote.
Yes.
Okay, roll call vote. Paul, yes. Eric?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Do you have to put the reason?
Yes.
Yes, you have to read which one.
Which one?
C.
See,
C, RSA 91, A, colon 3, Roman number 2, a matter which, if discussed in public, would likely affect adverse in reputation of any person other than a member of this board, unless such a person requests an open meeting. This exemption shall extend and include any applicant of assistant or tax abatement or waiver to other fee or fine of other levy, if based on inhabit to pay or poverty to the applicant.
Okay.
Time for going into non-public is 8 o'clock.
Okay, coming out of non-public at 8:10.
Make a motion to come out of non-public session.
I'll second the motion to come out of non-public.
Okay, I gotta do a roll call first. Is that what I gotta do?
Now you do roll call.
Roll call, Paul, yes. Eric?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Okay, we're leaving non-public. At 8, what did I say, 8:10?
Yes.
Okay. Describe the matter discussed and final decision made. Non-public meeting of March 2003. As a review and approach, the review and approve the results of disposition report reviewed and, what's that? Would you
Okay. You,
act upon?
yes.
Okay. So we have to second, I make a motion? Okay.
You just said what you
You
did.
just said it.
You reviewed and approved the minutes of the non-public session, March 8th, and then you reviewed the current disposition reports and acted upon them.
Okay. That's
You have
it?
to seal those minutes, or?
No, this is
No, because,
pretty non-specific.
Oh, because the disposition report doesn't end up as part of the document.
right. Any other business?
Any other business? I make a motion we adjourn at 8:12.
Second.
Well, thank you very much.
It's been
Sorry
moved
for
and
asking a bunch of
We're
questions.
gonna vote on it.
seconded. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's not debatable, but we gotta do the actual. Can't just leave. Did you set that up? Not yet. Oh, I forgot.
This is what I said.